Welcome back once again. This time around, we're going to look at the differences between bump maps and normal maps. We could use this old project here to explore that. If you remember, we had a bump map on this, but we're going to look at something a little more interesting. So first thing I'm going to do is go up here to File in Maya, and I'm going to set my project. And I'm going to select my tacos project. And then, of course, when I go to open scene from here, it'll dive me right into the scenes folder of the project I just set, so I don't have to dig around. So we're going to open up Taco. We don't need to save whatever we've done here. And this is the Taco. So fairly low poly. It's got 288 vertices, 278 faces. I think it's possible I could even lower this down some more, but this is fairly workable. So I've got a flat texture on this, right? So these are the same taco, same mesh. This one I've just done a UV unwrap on, and there that is. If I haven't highlighted that before, I love this little button. So you can go in here and right click on your panel layout things and select the perspective and UV editor. And then hopefully it saves it right here or wherever you set it at, and you can get to it. So whatever I've grabbed, I can see what the UV looks like on that. Super easy to grab a shell and move it around. Do whatever you need to do there, right? And so that's fun. I did spend quite a bit of time working on this particular shell. No pun intended, actually, because it is a taco shell. Had to lay all this out. I've got these extrusions here for the tomatoes, and I had to drag all those down here. Really smooth this out, and then I've got this particular piece, this UV shell right here, which is everything inside the taco minus the tomatoes that I've got laid out nicely over here. So, as I said, there it is with just a flat texture on it. They've got a little noise on the shell, so it looks cool, but there's not enough going on there yet. So, what I want to highlight is what we can do in Photoshop with this guy. So I'm going to jump over to Photoshop, and I've already got this open, and this is Photoshop Creative Cloud 2015. I need to look and see when this became a thing. I know since, goodness, I believe CS3, CS4, many versions of Photoshop ago, they really tried to start getting this 3D integration in. I hadn't played with it in a good long while, but it's here. It's definitely here. So, first thing I'm going to do is I've already got some bumps and normals down here because like any good cooking show, we've already cooked up everything we need. I'm going to take the texture layers. So I've got everything in a layer here, right? I can turn that off. Let's just pretend that doesn't exist down there. All right. Everything's in the layer except for my outline. I did put a green color overlay on that outline so I could see it better, but it means nothing. We want to turn it off when we go to render textures anyway. Otherwise, we've got green lines all over everything. Anyway, so that's what we'll do. We'll turn that off. Here's my texture layers. I want to duplicate this group. We'll call this the bump layers. Just want to make sure that I've got just that. Turn off the texture layers. Collapse that. I'm going to grab everything. Not that way, I'm not. Scroll down here. Well, let's go through the layers first. So I've got a shell. So I've got this noise that I layered over a little bit more yellow. That I'm getting my full shell thing. I've got this horrible meat texture that I really want to fix, but I needed to get this tutorial done fast. So I'll be doing that later. Now I've got a little bit of lettuce that I cloned again and That's hanging out there. Used I believe it was the oil canvas filter to get kind of some cool swirls on that, so that was fun. And then I've got a couple of these cheese groups, which are really I'll just pull this out real quick. They're just different colors of yellow boxes that I started twisting and turning and coloring and added a little bit of drop shadow to. So I'll move that back into place. So I've got a bunch of those. I've got a layer of just white swirl here. Sour cream, you can see it's kind of underneath some cheese and on top of some cheese. So I got some sour cream in between some cheese. I got another layer of cheese. On top of that, finally this upper layer of sour cream, I've got some beveling and shadowing here to give it some form. And then the tomato layer down here. I didn't do anything fancy with that. Maybe I should have, but it's just red for tomatoes. All right, let's get to the real stuff. Whoop-de-doo, right? Okay, so I'm going to take all of those layers that I'm going to need, and that grabbed up the group and everything else there. In order for this to work, I've got to flatten it all, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to merge layers, and now I've got a single layer for everything. And I know I'm going to want to do this again, so I'm going to duplicate this group again. And this one will be a normals layer. We'll ignore that one for now. So we'll go back to the bump layer. It's named after the top layer that was, which is tomatoes. I'll rename those. Get on with it. Oh, I heard you. It's fine. So here's the magic. Filter and 3D. Now before we've done this whole mess where we took everything and we made it black and white, and you can still do that, but look at how easy this is. So under filter, hit 3D, I'm going to generate a bump map. And this little magic thing comes up. Now I haven't played with all of the settings yet, but there's some cool stuff going on here. So spin this around and you can see this is kind of a preview of what our bump is going to look like on a mesh. You can put it on different things, put it on a soda bottle or a soda can. Not everything is going to fit. Spheres are actually pretty common. We'll just stick with spheres because that's almost hurting my head. Anyway, right, so we can see what this bump might look like once we generate it. We can see some definition on the cheese, see a little definition on the lettuce just sticking out a bit. Definitely some bump where we've got all that noise on the taco shell itself. And you can see that little squiggly line of the sour cream. Now since we decided to model, and I think that it is right there, once we decided to actually model the tomatoes, that doesn't really play into our bump map calculation here. But that's what that's going to look like. You can adjust the detail, make it a little more pronounced. And maybe we want that. Let's go for it. Let's go up to 120. You can adjust the blur. I don't know why you would want this blurry thing. I guess if you had some kind of the opposite of what we usually use a bump map for. We want to add detail to something. In this case, if we had something that we wanted to take away the detail. Shoot, I think I might have left that blur on. Let me undo. Try that again. Yeah, 3.8. We don't want that. 0.5, please. And it's back down to 106. Oh, 0.5? Maybe that'll like it better. Still looking blurry. Should not have messed with that to begin with. When will I ever learn? Undo one more time. You know what? We'll come back to that. That's a way to do a bump. Let's do the normal real quick, and maybe that'll kind of clear out some of those settings. So we'll generate a normal map. Same kind of thing. That's the kind of pronounced look we're looking for. Right. Blur at 0. Detail at 83. Let's see what 100 looks like there. Super detailed. Go back to 90. Anyway, we can see what that's going to look like. You can play with those settings all day long, but we want a normal map, and now we should have one. So turn that on. You can see this crazy normal map scheme of purplish, green, pink, whatever this neon mess is. We just created a normal map based off of a flattened texture. Now for sure we're just going off the texture in this case, but you can add those details that you really want on your normal map that aren't on your texture, as we've done in the past with the treasure chests. You could do that here and generate that the same way. I'm going to go back to this one and we'll try the bump again. It is really stuck there. Try it that way. There, okay. Well, for whatever reason, the type in wasn't working, but the slider was. So what do we do? 90 on the last. All right, that's a little better. You can see just different layers of gray, right? Because our bump map's a grayscale bit of goodness. You can see the top, it's really going to bump out with the cheese and the sour cream. If anything, that's kind of blurring together, but you can see what this is going to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go ahead and save this PSD. And I'm going to jump back into Maya and we're going to see what I've already done with this exact process. So I've got a taco here with a bump map on it. You see it's got a lot more definition to the cheese, the lettuce even a little bit, and definitely the shell, right? Look at that shell. It's a lot bumpier, looks crispier, quite possibly a fresher taco. Now let me tell you what I did do. I did cheat on the sour cream here. So as you saw in the bump back here in Photoshop, it did look like it was going to blur quite a bit with the cheese. So knowing that, I came in here and I created another sour cream layer. Just try and drop it in here. All right, so that's what it would have looked like, and then I took it and added it. Let me just undo this. Let's just forget that other bump entirely. We'll come down here. So for whatever reason, on this bump map that I generated earlier, it's a little lighter. I mean, a little darker, right, down here, and so that's what I did with the sour cream. All right, that's what it would have looked like blending in. I took the layer, I added a little bit of an overlay and some inner glow, so it really kind of puffed out, right, and looked bubbly. And that's what we ended up with over here in Maya on this bump map. But that's the bump map. Let me just go ahead and pull this back. Same process. I did a normal map on these tacos, and now they don't always look right in Maya, right? Maya much prefers to look at bump maps. It understands it. It's got slots for it. You can do a normal map, and in fact, we'll just go ahead and we'll create a brand new taco and we'll normal map that real quick so we can see what that looks like. So I'm going to duplicate this, and we'll pull him forward. So it's a Command D to duplicate. Frame in on him, or focus with F. Okay, and this is without anything. To make sure we don't collide with any of these textures, I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So I'm going to assign a new material. We do want that to be a Lambert. We're going to call it Taco Test Demo. We've got the words test and demo in there. There should be no confusion about what's going on. All right, I'm going to go find my file for the texture itself. Cool, right? And the bump mapping, or in this case normal mapping, is almost exactly the same. So I'm going to go over here, click on that, click on File. Before I go select my file, I've got this Use As Bump here, which again, Maya seems to like. Seems to enjoy that one. But we can go tangent or object space normals. Not sure the difference on those yet. But it will apply it as a normal map. And then we'll continue the process and we'll go through and we'll click out. Again, since I set that project, it already knows to go in Projects, Taco, Source Images. And there's my normal map. And there it goes. So that's how you apply a normal map in Maya. Maya's not going to understand it as well, but you can do that. Now, I've already gone ahead and exported these and pulled them into Unity with the normal map. So let's check that out and we'll finish out this demonstration. And I need to go eat some tacos. I'm getting hungry just looking at all this. So I'm back here in Unity, and here's my folder of jazz. And I tried to export all the tacos. You know what? I'm going to try and import them afresh just for fun. So let me do that. So I'm going to go out here to, I'll just do it in here. I'm going to import a new asset. And we're going to dive into all of our stuff. Maya, projects, tacos, assets. I've got tacos, a normalized taco, tacos. Just do the normals. So this should have a normal map on it. Doesn't always import the way we wish it would. We can frame in on that. In this case, it did. So if it's tagged as a bump map, it doesn't like it. But here, as you can see, we did have it tagged in Maya as a normal map, and it seems to have understood it. No, it didn't. I'll tell you what happened is because we'd already set those same textures over here for this other FBX, it brought those in. So let me tell you what would have happened, right? So you would have come in here, and you would have had nothing set on your normals. And it would have looked all kind of flat and sad. Still tasty, but not as tasty and realistic. And you would have had to go into your materials, and you've got that, and you drag the normal map over. Even though it is a normal map and is tagged as such in Maya, once you got it into Unity, you still would have had that little button that we looked at earlier with the treasure chest that says, hey, mark this as a normal map, and then it would have started to understand what was going on. But anyway, that's a quick and easy way. Definitely much quicker if you don't have someone with a headset on talking their way through it. A much quicker and easier way to do normal maps out of Photoshop. Of course, there are ways to do this via ZBrush or even Maya, right? As far as taking a high polyed version of an object and generating a normal map based off of that to apply again to a lower poly version. But for the interest of we're just building one model once instead of different poly versions, this is a cool way to get your normal maps out of Photoshop. Thank you, Adobe, for including all of those 3D goodness for us. All right, I'm going to go and reapply some texture and some normal to this meat because that just doesn't even look healthy. I'm going to try and make that a little more look a little more like hamburger. And in the meantime, enjoy your newfound skills with bump maps and normal maps.